I think it would be a mistake to call it a hoax, because that would imply that people sat down, gathered together and said, how can we make up this big lie about climate change? Things don't work like that. And if you say things like that, you are playing very much into the hands of the enemy, who say, this stupid denier thinks that there's some sort of crazy conspiracy going on. Maybe he'll be telling us next that, 9/11 was an inside job. And maybe he'll be saying that smoking doesn't cause cancer. They love this kind of line. That's not how it works. There are a combination of factors involved in this. You have the Green Movement, who are ideologically committed and have been for a long time to a very particular view of the world, of Weltanschauung, as I would call it, because of the connections with that arch-green Hitler. What they believe is that man is essentially a blot on the landscape, that we are evil. And so it naturally gels quite nicely with their view that it's man which is causing this terrible CO2, which is causing the climate to change in a disastrous way. They're big on population reduction. They're big on they're anti-capitalist. I mean, there's a lot of anti-capitalism in the Green Movement. They believe that economic growth is a bad thing, so they want to rein it in. What better way of reining in economic growth than putting a tax on the product that all industry emits? CO2, it's CO2, industry is CO2 intensive. So if you can mark CO2 down as an evil thing which needs controlling by government, hey presto, you're on your way to one world government. It depends on the definition of lie, doesn't it? Yeah. I think that the warmists would be very hard pushed to demonstrate evidence that skeptics have been lying, because what is there for us to lie about? We simply demand that scientists act like scientists and tell the truth. We want all the facts to come out. We're not trying to hide anything. It's the other side which is trying to hide stuff. Has somebody like Jim Hansen told a lie direct? I think if one wanted to be polite about them, one could say that they've become infected with noble cause corruption, which is to say that in their passion to encourage swift government policy, they maybe have tweaked the evidence a bit, tried to talk things up, talked up the level of certainty, for example, about man's role in creating climate change, exaggerated the urgency of the situation, that kind of thing. And I'm sure there have been lies as well. I'll give you an example of an outright lie.
Yes.
The famous fourth IPCC assessment report, the line about glaciers being due to melt by, 2035. Now, this error was pointed out to the IPCC before the report went to press. They nevertheless included the lie in or the scientific inaccuracy was deliberately included in the report, despite the fact that they knew it wasn't true. Now, I would call that a form of lying. Yes. Big oil, which is often accused of funding skeptics. Well, it's been a very, very long time since big oil funded skeptics, let me tell you. I mean, it's probably 10 years ago that big oil started repositioning itself in order to benefit from the tax and regulation and so forth. Shell, for example, BP, both these companies have greened their image over the years, bought into wind farms. It suits their purposes very well. This CO2 thing, because they can expand their empires into different directions and benefit from, in the way that big companies can with government regulation. It's the small guys, the consumers, the small companies that really get hit sideways by green regulation, not big oil. So you've got them, you've got carbon traders like Al Gore, for example. A lot of people making a lot of money from the carbon trading industry. So, you know, it's a way of for some very cynical, canny people to make money out of consumers being taxed and government passing on these taxes, some of these taxes, in the form of special treatment for companies involved in wind farms and so on. And so it goes on. So there are all sorts of interests, from the earnest Greens who just want to save the world, to the corporatists who just want to make money, to governments which want to be seen by their people to be taking action against an apparently urgent and important issue. So you've got this welter of interests, you know, government, Greens, businesses and so on, all standing to benefit from the existence of this myth.
And media.
Well, I don't know whether you're familiar with Antonio Gramsci, who was the 1930s Marxist who talked about the long march on the institutions. He said, in order for the left to win the political battles, it doesn't really matter who's in government and who's in out. What matters is who holds the institutions, the seats of learning, the schools, organisations like the BBC, the New York Times, CNBC, and so on. These are what really matters, and all of these institutions have been captured by liberals. Which is why at the moment you see this bizarre situation in which so many of these scandals are not being reported in the mainstream media. Why? Because they're controlled by people who have a vested interest in encouraging this myth. It's only on talk radio in the US, in the blogosphere, that there's any real media opposition to this climate crime, I would call it. This is the one piece of good news. America is really our only hope here. And the collapse of the Obama administration has been a victory for the world, I would say. Because had President Obama got his way, had cap and trade been passed, then it would have been much, much easier for the eco-Nazis around the world to carry on down their path towards world domination, which is ultimately what this is about. You know, using climate change as a proxy for introducing one world government. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist here. I don't think that one world government will be composed of evil people with white cats, you know, cackling evilly about their plans to destroy the world. These people are motivated by the best of intentions. They see the United Nations as a means of ensuring fairness and redistribution of the world's resources, of ensuring that countries around the world obey the right rules and act in the correct way. The problem that libertarian people like me would have with that is we don't have any democratic control over these people. And what's to say that their definition of what is right really is right? You know, who's to say that? You know, I don't think that actually taxing carbon dioxide, for example, is a good thing, because carbon dioxide is plant food. It is not a poison. So going back to Obama, I think it's great that his administration is collapsing, because America is our best hope of reining in this extraordinary craziness that has broken out in the world for the last 2 decades.